The Earnestly Speaking podcast is a show that is founded on free-flowing conversation and may at times venture into mature subjects. Listener discretion is advised.
Earnestly Speaking Podcast here, December 19th, 2019. Actually, this will be dropping on the 20th, actually, because I'm recording late, on a late Thursday night, about almost quarter to 11, late at night. Tomorrow also will be, when this podcast comes out, will be my father's 60, I believe it's his 62nd birthday, I think, I'm not sure. Anyway, whatever the case may be, happy birthday, Dad, I love you, and hope this is podcast tonight, too. As well as this podcast is brought to you by Big League Pillows. Again, I ordered 2 pillows for my son, Miami Heat embroidered pillows. My son Eli Logan with the name embroidered on the pillows. You can do so too with any kind of pillows, any sports team that's covering the NFL, NBA, MLB, NHL, you name it. It's custom made pillows. Of course, put in the promo code Earnest, EARNEST, and you'll get free shipping there. Again, it's bigleapillows.com, promo code Earnest, that's EARNEST. Get your pillows, or Big League pillows rather, and tell them I sent you. So, anyway, welcome to the show today, podcast tonight. Decided to record. I didn't really want to. I started falling asleep. When my kids went to sleep, I started falling asleep too. Then I was like, you know what? It's Thursday night, no football on tonight, although let's finish watching the end of the Lakers Bucks game. I watched the tail end of it, I fell asleep this evening. But I felt compelled to record, because I just wanted to record tonight. I just wanted to get in the booth and do it. Like, the more you stay with this, the more you stay and commit to this, the better it'll be. And I don't want to start getting lazy with it. I already started, because of my schedule recently, as I explained in the last podcast, because of my schedule, it's getting harder to record multiple shows a week. So my goal is to at least do one a week. If I get 2, then I'd be happy. If I get a guest at least once a week, I'd be happy. We'll see what happens there. So, how you guys doing? Obviously, you look through social media, you look in the world today, there's so much going on. This is a holiday season. I'm looking forward to, Christmas next week with my family. But, there's a dark cloud around this country, unfortunately. And a lot of that is because of the fact that, our political discourse is pretty shitty these days. Yesterday, as I was recording, on Wednesday, the 45th President of the United States, Donald Trump, was impeached by the House Democrats. He's the 3rd president to be impeached of his kind. And obviously, you go on social media, you look in the world today, you talk to people in the world, it's a very polarizing topic. No matter who you talk to, and whether you're pro-Trump or anti-Trump, it is a very polarizing topic today in the news, in the world, and all that. Now, I have my personal opinions on the situation. I've been somewhat vocal on this. I try, one of the things I started doing in the last year or two, because I'm somebody, and I had a discussion with somebody on Facebook about this earlier today, a friend of mine. And we're talking about, I put kind of like I'm mocking, sort of like a trollish status today about saying that we need more political discourse or commentary on Facebook. And of course, people, liked it, laughed at it, whatever, which is cool because it kind of lightened the mood a little bit, around the my feed. But one of my friends has said, he's at a point now where he just deletes and unfriend people that decides to just spew out bullshit takes about political discourse and stuff. And I get that. I'm not saying I agree with that, but I get that. It's gotten so bad. Like, I really feel that the political discourse in this country and on social media is actually worse than it was in 2016. In 2016, the excuse we had was we didn't know what we were getting into. Whether or not you voted for Hillary Clinton, or not you voted for Donald Trump. There was still this, well, what if? We'll see. I don't know. A lot of people had distrust with the government, or with our people in power. And I get that, because there's some things that could be argued that, you can feel misled or abandoned by your leaders. I get that. I totally get that. But now we've been, under this Trump administration now, this Trump regime for the last 3 years. It'll be actually 3 years exactly in January from his inauguration. And I feel like the discourse right now is worse than it was in 2016. Now, as I said, I tried in the last year to remove myself from getting into the divisive squabbles on social media. Now, that doesn't mean I don't talk about it. I like talking about politics. See, I'm one of the rare folks in the world that actually does not mind having a discussion with people, both like-minded and opposing views, about political commentary. You know, I have many friends who think differently from me. I mean, and in my case, it's actually more friends because of the fact that I'm actually more of a moderate. I have people who are far right-wing Republicans, far left-wing Democrats, and most of them, we still are able to, you know, respect our differences for the most part. You know, now whether or not they respect it in private is whatever, but we don't kill each other. We don't decide to end friendships because of this stuff. And so we've, you know, and I've been blessed to have people in my life, for the most part, be able to be mature about the discourse, you know. But there's some people in life too also that are immature about it and quite frankly ridiculous. And on both sides, not just on one side, but the other side too. So I've tried in many cases in recent years, especially this year, to not get involved in the nuts and bolts of the commentary, especially if the commentary is not serious, especially if the commentary is just trying to look at me, I'm trying to show how smart I am or how funny I am. I get that. I'd rather not do that. I'd rather not get into that rabbit hole personally. Now, that being said, and I've discussed this on the podcast a few times, when we had Mark Francois on the last couple of months, we get to our political discussions, of course, and, you know, obviously he's obviously a person that is pro-impeachment. And I've constantly questioned him, and I've said to him on the podcast that I feel like it feels like it's a waste of time. And now we're past the point where the House impeached him. We do expect the Senate to not impeach him. You know, for me personally, I feel like it's a waste of time only because of that fact that the Republican-dominated Senate will not impeach him. He will stay in office, and I feel like to some degree that this is going to backfire on Democrats. I feel like Trump is actually getting stronger. His approval rating has not really. His approval rating, to be honest with you, if you look at the polls. Look at the trusted polls, especially too, and not just the conservative polls, but just the polls in general. They all are in line with each other. Like he's still in the low 40s, but you know, for someone that's been as chaotic as he has, and someone who's been as polarizing as he has, you'd think he'd be in the low 30s and maybe even the high 20s. He's still holding firm in the low 40s, you know. And there are people who are breaking away from the middle and going to Trump. There was a Democratic congressman this week that decided, who was against the impeachment, that decided to leave the Democratic Party and go to the GOP. I have his name on me, by the way, but that did happen this week. So there's a lot of that going on. There's a lot of that, you know, and it makes you wonder if he's doing that as a congressman. What about people who are in the middle, who are on the fringes, who may not necessarily like Trump as a person, or how he talks and how he reacts to people, but are people who do, you know, like the 401ks and see the economy is doing very well. Obviously, we have questions about the economy, whether or not it's actually a short-term or long-term solution. I don't know. We've heard people say many things on that topic, but they see things like that, and they see the media constantly, you know, knocking at Trump over and over again. I feel like the more we do this, the more Democrats keep picking the prod at Trump, you know, in the media especially too, the more I feel like he'll get martyred. And that's kind of how I feel. I'm not saying I like it. I'm not saying it is right or wrong. I'm just saying that is the opposite I see from where I'm standing at. You know, and again, when you look at the ratings, his approval ratings are still in the 40s, but yet you can't even come up with Democratic candidates that people see eye to eye on. I mean, obviously we'll see how the caucus runs in the next few months. But, you know, it just feels like, the optics just feel like that we're even more divided now than we were in 2016. And it feels like, you know, right now that, you know, you have the middle moderates who are so, you know, who may want to vote liberal, but feel like the the Democratic Party and the left wing is crazy, batshit crazy, and you have people on the right side too. Also might feel like the right wing's kind of crazy. It's gonna be a very fascinating year. I mean, this is funny. We're gonna have a Senate impeachment trial starting in January during election year. That is insane. That is insane to me. Even Bill Clinton had to go through that, because Bill Clinton, when he got impeached in 1998, he was running his second term. But this is the same time. This is an insane time right now. I mean, it's obviously it's his history, the impeachment's history. So you have to. There's some historical impact to that. So for someone like me, who's a big political, American history buff, it is something that I, obviously grabs my attention, of course. But I don't know. I have a funny feeling. If you ask me out of my head what happens in 2020 election time, I think Donald Trump will be reelected as president. I don't see any. I just don't see anything different right now, to be honest with you. I think the more people pick at him, he just gets stronger. And you think the Democrats will learn a lesson. I don't know. It just feels like he's just getting stronger. He's holding firm, and I feel like people are just tired of the chaos in general. Just tired of chaos. I work at a place now where I work with thousands of people, hundreds of people, and and people who come to my establishment, and it's polarizing. You have people who don't like him, people who love him, and the passion on both sides is pretty strong. But there's also people also in the middle who may not like Donald Trump. They're sick of the topic all the time. They're sick of the entire process, and it makes you wonder: will Democrats they say, well, screw it? The economy's doing pretty well. We're at peace right now. There's no war. Maybe he wins because of that. I mean, the economy. I don't see the economy changing shape anytime soon. So you can't use that. So I don't know. This is going to be a fascinating year as we get to this. This fourth quarter of his administration, and the economy is, not the economy, but the election is now less than a year away. So we'll see what happens. So this week is the 16th week 16 of the NFL season. We're now down to the nitty-gritty, the final stretch before the playoffs begin. Obviously, the playoff picture is getting much clearer right now as we get to the end of the year. This past week, a lot of things happened, some chaos in terms of seeding, and also some clarity in terms of positioning and whatnot. So, I mean, this is a fun time of year, obviously, in sports, because you have, obviously, NBA is really kicking in high gear. College football bowl season, of course, is upon us. Still got the college playoff in a few weeks. Obviously, with baseball, winter meetings is going on, and big free agents are making moves, and like Garrett Cole going to the Yankees, for example, and whatnot. But this is also the end of football. And in my case, things start clearing up there too, because I've already said for years I'm not a fan of Thursday night football, and the oversaturation. Although it has been. The product, I will admit, has been better the last year or two. It's been better games for a reason. But it's a commitment. If you want to watch all the games, it's a commitment. Like, basically, you have more football in your face between college and NFL than another way around. And it feels like almost feels like you're being strangled along the ways. I'm not complaining about it, but when you have a family, sometimes you have to pick and choose. And I found myself recent years now picking and choosing according to the games. If the game doesn't seem interesting, I'm not going to watch it. Once upon a time, years ago, it didn't matter what game was on. It could have been Cardinals and I don't know, Cardinals and Bucks. It didn't matter. If it was the game on, I'm going to watch it. Now my time's precious. Time is of the essence. So. I find myself, skipping specific Thursday night games. I'll skip a specific Monday night game, depending on the game. Obviously, and even now on Sundays, 1 o'clock I'm locked in, because most of the games are at 1 o'clock, in the 1 o'clock session. And if you have Red Zone, it's the best time of the season, really, those 3 hours, 1 to 4. And then at 4 o'clock, it dips down to 2 or 3 games, maybe even 4 games, from 4 to 7, which is really not really that great. And then this year, in general, for me, I didn't have Red Zone most of the year. I had access to an illegal stream for a little while, which then got screwed up. And then, because I don't have cable, and I haven't had cable really in years, because I'm not going to pay for things that I can just pay from out of pocket. And unfortunately, the NFL does not provide the Red Zone as a standalone. You have to order an extra service to get there. For example, if you stream, for example, Sling TV is the only service that has exclusive rights to the Red Zone. Unfortunately, you got to pay $35 a month just to get access to it. And I'm not going to do that. Whereas if you had cable TV and it had a Red Zone as an add-on, you're paying maybe $10 a month as opposed to that. So I'm not going to do that. And apparently, people who I would piggyback on to get Red Zone. I feel embarrassed saying that, but I do share passwords once in a while. But people who I piggyback on in the past, though, they didn't have this year either. So they were also not in the mood to have Red Zone. No one had Red Zone this year. Anyone else close to didn't have Red Zone, which is really strange. But we're here now. So I this year, although obviously it's been a phenomenal year in a lot of ways, a lot of good things happening, a lot of interesting things, storylines going on, I don't feel as plugged in as I've had in recent years because I'm not watching every single game, which is crazy because now what's been really helpful, for me in recent weeks especially too, is watching the return of NFL Primetime on Sundays, which is on ESPN Plus. So what I've done is that the games I don't watch at all, I would now rely on NFL Primetime to watch the highlights like I used to back in the day when before Red Zone even existed back then. So I've kind of had like a flashback to some degree of how I used to experience NFL football when you only watched the game that was on the TV that your regional provider showed you. Which a lot of times is obviously the Dolphins or maybe the regional team like the Giants, which I'm lucky because they show the Giants, and the Giants are my favorite team, so they almost always show the Giants on TV, on Fox. But this season's been really good. This season has been really, really fascinating. Lots of interesting storylines. So the playoff picture, like I said, it's starting to get clearer now. So today, if this playoff started today, right now, heading to Week 16. Okay, right now, I'll go to the AFC first. Right now, the Ravens are the number one seed. They clinched the division, and a win this weekend. I believe they played Pittsburgh this weekend. A win this weekend, they clinched the number one seed overall by virtue of the tiebreaker with New England. The Patriots right now, the number 2 seed, 11-3. They have work to do. They got a big game against Buffalo on Saturday afternoon. That's a huge game. Obviously, the Bills win that game. They will be, I believe, either division leader or tied. I don't know the tiebreaking scenarios in that situation just yet. The 3 seed right now is the Chiefs, who are red hot at 10-4. The Texans are the 4 seed at 9-5. They won a huge game against Tennessee last week. Houston's been kind of shaky in recent weeks, but that win last week really helps. We'll see what happens next couple weeks. Right now, the 5 seeds, the Buffalo Bills, who are already clinched the playoff spot at 10-4. They are one of the biggest surprises of the year. Phenomenal year, again, for the team. Great defense. Don't trust Josh Allen, though. Josh Allen has been very consistent this year. Right now, the 6 seed currently is the Pittsburgh Steelers at 8-6, but there is a 3-way tie right now for that spot. Not 3-way tie. There's a tie. Texans have the 9-5 record, but Steelers at 8-6. The Titans are in the mix now at 8-6 as well, too. There's a 7 seed. You have Cleveland and Oakland right now, who are currently still mathematically in the race, but they need to win out and they get help, which is not going to happen in my opinion. So I expect the only interesting thing really going forward is Titans, Texans in terms of division. Bills, Patriots obviously a seeding with the AFC East, and then the 6th seed, of course, the Steelers and the Titans and maybe even the Texans, depending on how that thing shakes out. I don't see the Browns and the Raiders getting in anyways. Doesn't matter there. On the NFC side, right now the number 1 seed Seattle Seahawks 11-3. Barely hanging on to that because the Niners are the 5 seed. The 2 seed right now is the Green Bay Packers. Real quick on the Seahawks. I don't think they're that good, honestly. People say that they get offended. Friends of mine who are Seahawks fans get offended by that. I think Russell Wilson's great. That's why they're so good. I think Russell Wilson is the reason why they're 11-3. He's right in the MVP race. Although last 2 weeks I flipped now. I went to Lamar Jackson. I had Russell Wilson as the front runner for the MVP prior to last week. Now it's Lamar Jackson, but still, Seattle isn't where they are right now at Russell Wilson. Period. End discussion. Top 3 quarterback in the league, maybe in top 2. The 2 seed right now is Green Bay Packers at 11-3. They don't feel like a Super Bowl contender in my opinion, though. It's weird. 11-3, they don't feel like it. But again, dangerous. You get home field advantage in Lambeau as an advantage, and you still got Aaron Rodgers. The 3 seed right now is the Saints, also 11-3. But they're playing pretty good football now at the stretch run. Drew Brees, which we'll talk about in a second. Drew Brees is playing much better football now at this time than he was last year. That's very dangerous. The 4th seed right now is the Dallas Cowboys. Now, this is going to be interesting here for the Cowboys. If they beat Philadelphia this weekend on Sunday, if they beat the Eagles, they will now have wrapped up the NFC East as well as the 4th seed, which now I've been saying the Cowboys, who, while their record does not indicate as such, they have, in my opinion, have a Super Bowl roster. I don't like their coaching staff. Obviously, Jerry Jones is a bit of an enigma, but I like Dak. He's solid. Obviously, Ezekiel Elliott's one of the top 2 quarterbacks in the league. Amari Cooper's solid. Defense is pretty good. The Cowboys have a Super Bowl type roster, in my opinion. The Cowboys win against Philadelphia. Everything's wrapped up. They essentially, Week 17 turns to a bye week for them, and they'll get a home field advantage for the wild card game. That's a dangerous spot for anybody coming to Dallas. I know I'm not going to pick the team. Whoever's playing Dallas, I'm going to probably pick the team playing Dallas on wild card weekend. But I would not necessarily call that a shoo-in just yet. It depends on the teams that's come in there. Which right now, if the playoffs are today, it'd be San Francisco, who's the 5 seed right now, currently 11-3 as well. But again, Seattle and San Francisco play Week 17, so that will shake itself out in the coming weeks. The 6th seed right now is the Minnesota Vikings at 10-4. They are quietly, in my opinion, a contender as well too. So there's that. You have the Rams hanging around at 8-6. Of course, the Eagles can get in if they win the division, but the Rams are a long shot to get the wild card as well too. So that is the playoff picture right now. It's getting much clearer, and I think this weekend we'll get a lot more clarity in terms of the wild cards and whatnot. Now, whether or not who is divisions going forward, I think, like I said, Seattle and San Francisco plays Week 17 and whatnot. By the way, Minnesota and Green Bay play on Monday Night Football on this week. So again, another game that can change things up too. Minnesota's in the game. They're now 11-4, like the Green Bay Packers, and that can make NFC North very interesting. So very interesting NFC's picture right now as it heads to the last 2 weeks of the NFL season. So speaking of Week 16 in the NFL, let's get to the picks. I haven't done the picks in a couple of weeks. Obviously, Zach and I haven't been able to link up and do the picks together on the podcast because of his work schedule. So we're going to have to unfortunately do it solo. I did beat him this week. I had a big week. I actually won 11 games this week on the picks last week. We still beat him and I still together still share our picks and we see how much games you can hit. So after he actually ran pretty good last 3 weeks, and I actually finally broke a streak. So I won 11 games. So let's go to the 3 Saturday games. And the first game here we're gonna talk about here, we have the LA Rams heading to San Francisco to face the Niners. The Niners are 6.5 point favorites. The over/under is 45 points. I like the Niners here. They need this win badly. This is a game they need to obviously win as they set up for the Week 17 battle against Seattle next week in Seattle. That will possibly decide the number 1 seed in the entire conference. Obviously, San Francisco that big loss against Atlanta last week. Crazy game. The Rams need this game too, though, but the Rams are pretty much almost dead to rights. I mean, they're in the race still, but they need a lot of help. They need to win out and then get help to get into the playoffs as a wild card, as it is. So I like San Francisco. I like the Niners to cover because they need this game more at this point. The Rams are dead to rights. This game I'm looking forward to watching on Saturday, and that's the Buffalo Bills heading to New England to face the Patriots. The Patriots are right now also 6.5 point favorites. The over/under is 37 points. Again, if Buffalo wants to be taken seriously, Bills fans, I'm happy for you guys in the playoffs. To me, you still look like a one-and-done team in the playoffs. However, if you want to change my narrative going forward, this is a game you have to win in New England, and against the Patriots team that's not that good. I mean, when I say not that good, I mean that's all relative to the record, but they're not as dominant as they've been in recent years, obviously. I'm taking Buffalo here on the points. I think the Bills will keep this game close. I'm not sure if they win the game or not, but I think this is gonna be a close game, like it was the first time in Week 2 or Week 3 rather, when these two teams faced in Buffalo early in the year. So give me Buffalo on the points plus 6.5. Okay, the final Saturday game pits the Houston Texans heading to Tampa to face the Buccaneers. The Texans right now are 3-point favorites. The over/under is 50 points. Give me the over in this game. Again, Houston needs this game. This is a trap game here. Tampa Bay 7-7 for the year. James Winston's playing something to a new contract. He's been so wonky this year. He's had some phenomenal games this season. He's had some really horrible games this year. But unfortunately, there's not enough good quarterbacks in the league. So there'll be a team or two, maybe in Tampa, that will probably either franchise him or sign him to a long-term deal. But Houston needs this game, obviously, but I'm taking the over in this game. Detroit Lions heading to Denver to face the Broncos. The Broncos are currently 7-point favorites. The over-under is 38.5. I like the over here on this game. Two teams not going anywhere, obviously missing the playoffs. The Raiders heading to LA to face the Chargers. The Chargers are 7-point favorites. Over-under is 45.5. The Raiders obviously have very, very thin playoff hopes. They need to win out and get help. That ain't going to happen, obviously, but I like the over in this game, too. The Chargers are also done for the year as well. The Jacksonville Jaguars heading to Atlanta to face the Falcons. The Falcons are 7-point favorites. Over-under is 46.5. The Jaguars obviously just fired Tom Coughlin yesterday. Strange situation here going on in Jacksonville. Meanwhile, Atlanta, playing spoiler, already beaten New Orleans, already beaten Carolina, already beaten San Francisco. I like the Falcons here to win this game. Going away, to be honest with you. Like I said, they are much better than their record. And we'll see if they save Dan Quinn's job. It's very possible. All right. This is actually a really big game here too as well. The New Orleans Saints heading to Tennessee to face the Titans. The Saints right now are 2.5-point favorites. The over-under is 50 points. I like Tennessee here, to be honest with you. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can see a letdown here for the Saints here. They've had a couple of letdown games this year. Tennessee needs this game badly. It's in Tennessee. There could be some weather issues there. Who knows? Give me the Titans here. Possibly win this game outright. All right. The battle for the number 2 pick probably in the draft. The New York Giants heading to Washington to face the Redskins. The Redskins right now are 2-point favorites. The over-under is 42 points. I like Washington here. They've actually played better in the last couple weeks, to be honest with you. I'm not going to lie to you. They were in that game against Green Bay last week. They played more competitive football. The Giants have Eli Manning, of course, again this week, I believe, who played his final home game, possibly his final home game of his career last week against the Dolphins. But I like Washington here to win this game outright, honestly. All right. The Pittsburgh Steelers heading to New York to face the Jets. The Steelers right now are 3-point favorites. The over-under is 37 points. I like the under here. The Steelers in this game, obviously, too, as they are currently the 6th seed for the wild card in the AFC. The Bengals against the Dolphins. Bengals going to Miami to face the Dolphins. Dolphins right now 1-point favorite. Over-under is 46.5. Two teams trying to play out for the number one pick in the draft. I like the Dolphins here, of course. The Dolphins are playing much better football, although they didn't like good last week against the Giants. But I like the Dolphins to win this game outright at home. Here's two teams here that fell apart in the latter half of the year. That is the Carolina Panthers heading to Indy to face the Colts. The Colts right now are 7-point favorites. The over-under is 46.5. I like the under in this game as well, too. Two teams that will miss playoffs this year. The Baltimore Ravens, the old Browns, against the new Browns, the Cleveland Browns. Right now the Ravens are 10-point favorites. The over-under is 49 points. I like Cleveland the points here. I don't think they'll win the game, but I like Cleveland the points here to play competitive football, divisional game. I think Baltimore will probably struggle a little bit, but I think Ravens should win this game. But I like the Browns on the points here. Game of the week, obviously. One of the games of the week, should I say. The Dallas Cowboys hitting the Philadelphia face the Eagles. The Cowboys right now are 1.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46 points. If Dallas wins this game, they clinch the NFC East as well as in the 4th seed in the NFC, and I think they'll do that despite Dak Prescott's right shoulder issues. They should win this game pretty handily. Philadelphia is banged up. This would be. I'll tell you what. Carson Wentz has played some good football the last couple of weeks. We'll see if he could have more miracles for the Eagles this week. We'll see what happens there. All right. The Arizona Cardinals heading to Seattle face the Seahawks. The Seahawks are 9.5-point favorites. The over-under is 15.5. I'm going to go ahead and not even worry about that half point. Give me Seattle here. They need this win, obviously, to keep the number 1 seed in the NFC. And let's see here. The Sunday night game, here, pits the Kansas City Chiefs heading to Chicago and face the Bears. The Chiefs right now are 6-point favorites. The over-under is 44.5. I like the over here in this game. I think Mahomes will light up Chicago. Finally, another game of the week here. The Green Bay Packers heading to Minnesota to face the Vikings. The Vikings right now are 5.5-point favorites. The over-under is 46 points. Even though Dalvin Cook may not play this game, which was announced today via social media, I still like the Vikings to win this game. Green Bay is, I'd say Green Bay is a 2 seed in the NFC, but they don't feel like a Super Bowl contender. Minnesota's surging well. As I said too, also with the Vikings, also like Kirk Cousins doesn't have to be great, just be good to win games. Their roster is top 3 in the league. So, give the Vikings here to win at home on Monday Night Football. And there's your picks of the week, week 16 with the spread. Now, real quick, I want to talk Drew Brees. Drew Brees this past Monday against the Colts, Monday Night Football, passed Peyton Manning for most touchdowns thrown. by a quarterback. Now, whether or not he holds that record going forward, we'll see what happens, because Tom Brady is not far behind, actually. Although Tom Brady is starting to slow down. We'll see. And obviously, there's a lot of debate about Drew Brees in terms of whether or not he's a, the greatest of all time, top 5, top 10, whatever it may be. We've had this debate, actually, a lot more in the last couple of years. This is a debate we never really had much throughout his career, but only in the last couple of years because of the records he started breaking. That became a conversation, and we always do that every time something big happens where a record's broken here and there. We start having that conversation. Is this guy a top 5 quarterback in the league or best of all time and all that? Now, I will say this much: he's definitely consideration for top 10 quarterback ever. There's no doubt about that. If you go through a top 10 list right now, your list is gonna have Brady and Peyton and Montana, Elway, Eli. And I'm joking. No, I'm joking about Eli. But you go through the list, of guys, Drew Brees has to be in that conversation. Now where he's on that list is a question. Like I would probably put Drew Brees on the bottom of the 10. I still think there's a lot of things, because of him not winning enough playoff games through his career that may, I guess, to some degree hurt. I don't know. He had a little run after his first Super Bowl, his only Super Bowl, should I say? That he didn't do. Like the Saints were missing playoffs somewhat regular basis. I want to go through the records. I actually want to go through the records of the Saints. I want to go through the records of the Saints with Drew Brees as quarterback, because it's actually something no one really talks about, because Drew Brees is very well liked. He's short and all that, so a lot of people like look at that as a thing. But I'm really curious. I forgot how many games, because there was a lot of years where the Saints will go 7-9, 8-8, 7-9, 8-8, and it's one of those things where, like, okay, well, I get it, but let's see here. I'm looking at right now the Saints win-loss records since 2006, year by year. This is actually interesting here. The overall record all time for the Saints is 373 and 438. They're 9-11 in the playoffs all time. One Super Bowl won. Okay, let me see their records year to year real quick. I'm bringing it up right now. All right, so since 2006, okay, he became quarterback in 2006. Took the team to the conference championship, lost to the Bears. So he won 10-6 his first year there. Then 7-9. Then 8-8. Then 13-3. That was Super Bowl year in 2009. 2010 he went 11-5. 2011. 13-3, then 7-9 in 2012, then 11-5 in 2013. Then there was a 3-year period between 2014, 15, 16. We went 7-9 each year. 2017, they bounced back, went 11-5, lost in the divisional round. That, of course, was that big the game against the Vikings. Then last year went 13-3, lost in the conference championship to the crazy ass play. What they didn't call pass interference, whatnot. So Drew Brees has had some, really good top end years, 13-3 years, but he also had some really 7-9 years. So, look, he's definitely in a conversation for top 10 all time. There's no question about that. The record's gonna justify that too, especially. But here's something I want to discuss when talking about Drew Brees. I don't think people give enough credit to Sean Payton for getting him over the hump. I'm not saying Brees wasn't good in San Diego. I'm not saying Brees was never a good quarterback. I'm just saying that Sean Payton had a lot to do with what Drew Brees became throughout his career. And I can say that too because Sean Payton worked similar magic with Kerry Collins in 2000 as the Giants offensive coordinator on the team that went to the Super Bowl and lost to the Ravens in 2000. Sean Payton worked wonders with Kerry. Sean Payton resurrected Kerry Collins' career as a result. So he's had a history of doing this with some relatively decent quarterbacks. Not saying that Drew Brees is a average quarterback, but I think the extra hump of having Sean Payton being the all-time great play caller. Look, Sean Payton may not be a likable guy necessarily. I'm not really a big fan of him personally, but he's one of the best coaches we had in the league in the last decade and a half. Definitely top 3. You talk about top 3 coaches in the league in the last 15 years, I would say, obviously, Belichick is number 1. I put Andy Reid in that conversation. You consider Mike Tomlin, and Sean Payton's in the conversation too, obviously. And to be honest with you, Drew Brees and Sean Payton might be the best quarterback-coach combo in the league, after Brady Belichick. Now, I still got to get Brady Belichick the nod because of one reason. Because longevity. For them to go 20 years and, for the most part, keep everything as professional as possible. Even if there's infighting between those two guys. Still, it's still kept in-house. And 6 Super Bowls later, you can't go against that. But after Belichick and Brady, I mean, you got Brees and Peyton. It has to be number 2 as the best coach-quarterback combo in the league. All-time, probably top 5 or 6. I mean, you're looking at Montana and Walsh. I mean, there's not really much guys to look at. Montana, Walsh, Belichick, Brady. I mean, Brees and Peyton's got to be right in that top 5 mix, right? So, I don't know. There's something to think about. But Drew Brees definitely top 10 all-time quarterback. It has to be in the conversation. But where do you rank him is the story. Now, I'll tell you what. If he wins another Super Bowl this year, whatever, or next year, assuming they do, then I think the conversation really takes another turn. Because the rings conversation, I don't like to rely on rings as the end-all be-all of conversations. However, the rings do actually put weight on the argument, especially if you're the reason they're winning those titles. So, again, we'll see how this playoffs could change a lot of narratives about a lot of things, including this Drew Brees conversation about his all-time greatness. Last thing before I go. So I'm obviously a big fan of Bill Simmons and the Bill Simmons Podcast and whatnot. This week he had a awesome guest on his podcast this past Wednesday. He had on Adam Sandler, obviously, which is obviously a good guest. Although I'm not really big fan. I don't tend to really like the episodes with celebrities as much. Just because all they're on there doing is promoting a book or a movie or whatever it may be that I really don't in the grand scheme of things care about, and all they're doing is repeating the same thing. Like if you subscribe to a lot of podcasts like Mark Maron or whatever it may be, they do the same run around, podcast, radio, hits. It's the same conversations over and over again. However, Adam Sandler is doing a movie called Uncut Gems with Kevin Garnett. Kevin Garnett was the other guest on Bill Simmons' podcast. Kevin Garnett is a guy that, while I enjoyed hating as a fan because he was obviously first a Timberwolf, which not necessarily back then was I did this, but when he became a Celtic in 2007 through 2013, I think it was, yeah. I hated him because he obviously, he was a rival. But it wasn't hate in a way where oh my God, I hate you and you're disgusting human being. No, it was hate in the most respectful way. Like he was a guy you love to hate, but if he's on your team, you love him to death. Kevin Garnett has always been very transparent and honest and open and very, very this very open on the court and especially off the court too. You watch him on TNT. With the players only thing, or what they do, Area 21, which I don't know if they still do that anymore. To be honest, and if so, they should bring it back because I thought it was phenomenal. It was pretty uncensored. But he was on the podcast talking about LeBron James and talking about how basically saying that he broke LeBron, and in the conversation about LeBron, how his Celtics pretty much changed the course of LeBron's career. I'm gonna play a clip of the about a 1 minute clip of him on Simmons' podcast discussing this very topic.
Going to the Miami series, 2-2 at Miami Game 5.
Right.
Celtics win in Miami, and they're talking all kinds of shit to LeBron. All kinds of shit that whole game. Correct or incorrect? You're trying to get in his head. You feel like you can break LeBron at this point?
We broke LeBron.
In Game 5.
So get your ass out of here with that, all right? You understand how you got the Cleveland, how you got the Miami, Bill? Remember
That's
that?
true. You broke him in 2010.
Okay, so remember that, all right?
Fair
so
enough.
Stop bringing that up, all right?
Fair enough.
So they was talking shit to him, okay? The media and the league knew that they had an agenda in which we wasn't part of the agenda. You understand? Right. And that's how they ended up winning that series. Yeah, I said it.
Do you think you pushed LeBron too far in Game 5? Because Game 6,
far?
he's unbelievable. You think you gave him the eye of the tiger?
Pushed him too far?
Nothing?
Man, listen, let me say something to you. The C's, we didn't give a fuck about LeBron. We didn't fear LeBron, and we didn't think that he can beat all 5 of us. And that's how I felt. He wasn't trying to consolidate. He was trying to consolidate because he didn't want the pressure on him. You understand?
Here's a good point there. A lot of people, especially fans of LeBron, looking at it as, well, Game 5, yeah, but what happened in Game 6? And by the way, I know this because I'm a Heat fan, and I reveled in that, because when LeBron went Super Saiyan in Game 6 of the 2012 East Conference Finals, obviously I love that, because that triggered LeBron and to the next level. The Heat win the series, win the title that year, they win the title the next year as well too. So I benefit from that though. But a lot of LeBron fans, this is where it begins this whole utopia and this whole bubble and having to over defend your guy, and you can do that. It's fine, whatever. But the part about Garnett saying breaking LeBron had nothing really to do with. I don't think it had necessarily to do with what happened in that series. I think when he broke LeBron, he's talking about the first stint in Cleveland in 2009 and 2010 when they beat the Cavaliers 2 years in a row. That forced LeBron to pretty much leave, pack his bags, and go to South Beach with Dwayne Wade and Chris Bosh. I mean, that's, I think, what Garnett was referring to. Not necessarily breaking him in the, in the conference finals, which, by the way, once that happened in Game 6, that was the very end of that Game 5. Was talking about when he broke LeBron in the 2012 conference finals rather. That was pretty much the end of the Big Three in Boston, because the very next year they went down to, I think, the 7th seed in the Eastern Conference, and they never were the same again. And they all got traded a year after that too. Garnett and Pierce got traded to Brooklyn. But I think what Kevin Garnett was referring to was breaking LeBron back in Cleveland, the first stint, where the Cavaliers won six games one year and 6-1 the very next year, and he lost them in 2010. That's what I think he was referring to in terms of breaking LeBron. Well, actually, it wasn't 29. It was 2008 when him and the Pierce had a Game 7 soiree when the Celtics won the title here. This is the year after Cleveland went to the finals the year before that, and then 2 years later they beat the 6-1 win Cavaliers team, LeBron, which caused him to pretty much change the entire course of history, going to Miami and all that. Fans need to stop. But my takeaway is there's more than anything else. I don't know why Kevin Garnett does not have a podcast yet. He needs to do an Area 21 podcast. Kevin Garnett Unfiltered is by far the best thing you're going to find. Like, I love Charles Barkley, obviously, and I love this. This is the Barkley podcast, and he's great on inside the NBA. But if Kevin Garnett had a podcast where he can be himself, like he was on Simmons' podcast, and just be himself, where he can cuss and just say what he says, and be unfiltered, and be uncensored, and be transparent and honest and all that, holy shit, that'd be a phenomenal show. And I will tune in, I will subscribe for that, obviously. So, if Kevin Garnett can hear my voice right now, please look into doing a podcast, because you are absolutely phenomenal when it comes to media. Absolutely. Anyway, that'll do for today's podcast. Again, today's episode sponsored by Big League Pillows. Visit the site at bigleaguepillows.com. Promo code Earnest for your free shipping. That's Earnest, EARNEST. Also, this show is brought to you by the Take 3 Wrestling Podcast. My wrestling podcast on the side I do with my buddies Mike and Joe. We record every Sunday night and put out Monday morning. That's part of Earnest Speaking Media. That's it for now. Until then, we may do another episode or two next couple of days. Schedule's kind of favorable for me to do another episode or two. We'll see what happens. Anyway, God bless you guys. Take care and see ya.